The hidden power. Like Gohan, men have been imbued with such a force. I'm sure most of us remember watching Dragon Ball Z and hearing about Gohan's hidden power. We saw glimpses of this in his fight against Raditz, Frieza, Vegeta, and he started to realize this against Cell when he superseded the other Saiyans and other fighters by turning into a Super Saiyan 2. But the form that really managed to tap in and draw out the fullest potential of this hidden power was Mystic Gohan. And he spent his time in the world of the Kais training with a particular item, and once he gained mastery and dominion over this item, his hidden power was ready to be used. And he appeared on the battle scene against Buu with such a menacing presence and aura. Buu was shocked. Buu said, "Wow, I felt your presence from other dimensions and I knew you were the fighter that would truly come to test me." Gohan said, "Well, I'm not here to fight you, my friend. I'm here to kill you." And I want to touch on the sword and what the sword symbolizes in Dragon Ball Z, and also what the sword symbolizes in our life right now and in this day and age. The sword we have seen in occult circles symbolizes the masculine force, the willpower, the penetrative intellect and force of man. Of course, we associate it also with chivalry and knighthood. So we can see it's used as both a weapon and a tool for intellectual pursuits. And it was only until Gohan, let's just draw his sword here. Forgive me, I can't remember what the Z sword looked like, but it was only until he gained dominion of this being a symbol, and the sword being a symbol, let's say, which would equal to the phallus. It was only until he gained dominion of this. And it's only until man gains dominion over his sexual desires. And like Gohan, we too can tap in and unlock the potential of our hidden power. Once he gained full control, full mastery of the sword, full mastery of his chi, his creative potency, he was able to easily make light work of Buu. And at this point, I believe Gohan was the strongest being in the universe in his mystic form. So like Gohan, we too have the potential to do many a great thing and use the Semen force for transformative purposes. But it's only via abstinence, and abstinence alone, that we can really cut through the shackles of society that binds us. I also want to keep in mind that the sword, or the phallus, represents that power to cut through illusions, the power to cut through falsehoods. And I'm sure a lot of you can attest to, on semen retention, you become far more outspoken. You're a lot braver. You tend to take more risks in social situations. Instead of quietening down, you speak up and engage on maybe topics that you would not have engaged on prior. It's very interesting. And as you progress on this journey, you begin to harness your sword, harness your phallic power, your semen power, and use this to bring people closer to you. A lot of us start on this journey and use it as a tool to gain attraction from women, or maybe not even as a tool to gain attraction from women, but this is, let's say, a side effect, a good side effect. Heads turn in the gym, heads turn in the supermarkets or the mall when you're walking. The 10 out of 10 that maybe you wouldn't have approached now wants to approach you. And let's say you end up pursuing this woman and you have successful relations with said woman. You bed her and it's back to zero. And being a man of purpose on this semen retention journey, or being a man of evolution from your current self, the self that is shackled and limited by sexual desires, by carnality. You want to transcend this and go beyond this person. It's interesting when you look at animals, and animals seem to show more sexual restraint, only copulating during a particular season, and outside of this season they are just doing what animals do: hunting, gathering food, killing and surviving in general. But we show less sexual restraint in that department. And if we're considered, of course, to be superior in many facets to animals, I'd say for the most part, intellectually speaking, we too, as a superior being, should have dominion over our lowest of low nature. And in doing so, as men, having dominion over the Z-sword or our phallic power, we can manipulate our reality, break free from the shackles of society, of hypersexualized content, constantly beguiling us and reeling us in for quick dopamine hits, only for us to stagnate and return back to zero. And as you progress on your semen retention journey, you begin to ascend what I like to say is the pyramid, the social pyramid. And we have some tiers here. I'm just going to put the types of individual. We go from mindless to conscious to creator. And I'll just put C at the top for creator. And mindless here, you entertain all sorts of things unbeknownst to you and unbeknownst to the effects they have. You continue to entertain them. Junk food, junk people, junk content. And maybe as a mindless consumer, this is something you had done consistently. Eat McDonald's and highly processed foods, maybe 4 out of the 7-day week. Entertain junk people consistently. And entertain junk content via porn or other degenerative means. And as you ascend on your semen retention journey, your body is saying, well, look, I need you to be as productive as possible because you're not reproducing. What's happening here? Your creative juices aren't going into reproducing. You keep storing it. So you're more productive now. You're at the gym more. So maybe because you're at the gym 5 out of the 7-day week, junk food doesn't align well with the goals that you've set for yourself. Junk people don't align with your spiritual goals anymore. They keep holding you back. Your vibration is too low, you notice, when you're with them, because you're on semen retention. You grow out of, having relations or relationships with people such as this. Junk content, you limit now and only procure content that can help to enhance you and serve your greater purpose, whatever that may be. And so as you ascend, you go from mindless consumer to conscious consumer to creator. And in the form of a creator, you have now your own sphere of influence. It might be an immediate sphere of influence around friends and family. Or if you take to content creation because you're bursting with these creative forces, you say, well, I want to start writing a book. I'm feeling far more inspired on semen retention than I did prior. You are really starting to tap into your hidden power. And like Gohan, you are mastering your Z sword and using such potent fuel to fuel greater things beyond carnality and hedonism. You start to put in extensive work into how can I write better books? How can I capture an audience with content, with lyrics, maybe via music videos, or you take up piano classes, language classes that you might not have done prior to semen retention. And you begin to grow and develop a sphere of positive influence with far more purpose than maybe our mundane creators that we're constantly inundated with, who give us hypersexualized content. You constantly are evolving on your semen retention journey, and your hidden power is now being realized. I'm sure we can all remember back in the day when we weren't on a semen retention journey. We weren't as consistent with it as we are now. We'd have bad things happen to us. Maybe we're trying to get to work. The traffic lights would always go red as we approach them, amber, red, and we'd constantly be in a stop, start. And instead of getting to work on time, you arrive 20 minutes late. But conversely, when on semen retention, everything's green. The traffic is just easy and you seamlessly get into work. Good things tend to happen, and you're talking to the universe saying, look, I'm retaining my essence and I'm not using it for degenerative means, and it's only going to serve a higher purpose, which is creation, bringing a child into existence, or creating something for the greater good of for myself and for humanity. The universe understands that and gives you some blessings here and there. And it's interesting, if we want to look at the esoteric side, the great Hermes Trismegistus gave us the axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without. And it's funny when we are in a depleted state, how we communicate such to those around us. We communicate a lack to women, a need for sexual validation, a need for sex, a thirst that they can smell. We're like a cretin crawling up out of the sewers trying to grab their attention, and they don't want any of that. So as within is communicated without, and they can smell it, they sense it in your auric field. Conversely, when you are full of life force, of chi, of semen, women can smell that, and they can smell a virile and fertile man, and they want to be a part of that. You are communicating, your auric field is touching them, and they're saying, wow, I'm going to do anything to get near to this man, to get closer to him. That's what you're communicating. You're communicating a sense of fullness, of completeness. So you don't need anything from anyone, but conversely, so they need something and will come to try and extract said thing from you. And this is something that we'll touch on in another video, that you must also be very careful of who you allow into your space as you ascend the semen retention ladder. And so, as within, so without. As above, so below. It's funny that when you're drained, you feel apathetic. You don't have any motivation. You don't have any creativity, or you lack the same creativity that you did on retention. So therefore, as below is reflected as above. Your mind is void and dull, lacks ideas. It lacks the guile to want to go out and attack your goals. Very interesting, because the first law of Hermeticism is the universe, or the mind, is the all. We must keep that in mind with whatever we're doing with regards to retention and whatever we put our attention on. Very interesting. So as you ascend, you become a creator. And I just want to touch on two individuals. The first being Nikola Tesla, who spoke on his time when creating the Tesla magnetic coil. And he said, the thinker is torn between two things: perpetuation of the human race or the mind. On my journey to create the Tesla coil, I had to exert such a tremendous amount of force, and such force could have killed 100 oxen. Had I not diverted my sexual energies to this particular task, it would have been an insurmountable one. And this is interesting because Tesla remained celibate his entire life, and we can just Google some of Tesla's inventions to see all of the innovations way ahead of his time that he came up with. If we could just take a snippet of Tesla's celibacy journey and apply it to ourselves for maybe 1 or 2 years, imagine the great things we could accomplish financially and spiritually. And I'll leave on this final note with regards to Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. And he said, there has never been any great genius, builder, leader, or creator in general lacking in the creative aspect. They are abundant and full of sexual energy. There never has been, and there never will be, anyone in this category lacking in such force. These are some things to think on. And as you continue to construct your life on this path on retention, think about the positive impacts that you can have and how you can grow and further enhance yourself as an individual. Remember, make the days count. Do not count the days. Until our next talk.